The time was 11:42 p.m. A Tuesday night. Thomas Miller was exactly 4 minutes away from his front door, unaware that the next 60 seconds would become his final moments. He was a man of routine, a high school history teacher who spent his days explaining the past, never suspecting that his own future was about to be cut short by a single, senseless act. He was thinking about the leftovers in the fridge and the quiet Wednesday morning that would never come. For Thomas, it was just another drive home. But on the overpass above the A49, the world looked very different. 4 teenagers stood in the shadows, fueled by a dangerous combination of caffeine and absolute boredom. They didn't see a father or a teacher. They saw a target. A moving object in a low-stakes game where they never expected anyone to actually get hurt. In the hand of the youngest boy was a jagged piece of limestone. To him, it was a toy. To physics, it was a kinetic missile waiting for its moment of release. At 70 miles per hour, the air resistance against a windshield is immense, but it's a constant pressure. What it isn't designed for is a sudden, concentrated point of impact from a 2-pound projectile. The rock left the teenager's hand with a flick of the wrist. For a fraction of a second, it existed in a vacuum of silence, suspended between a prank and a permanent tragedy. Thomas Miller never saw it. There was no time to brake, no time to swerve, just the sudden, violent intrusion of the outside world into his private sanctuary. The glass didn't just crack, it disintegrated. In less than a millisecond, the safety laminated shield turned into a cloud of microscopic daggers propelled by the force of the limestone missile. With the windshield gone, the wind roared into the cabin at highway speeds, scattering glass, papers, and the fragments of a life across the dashboard. Control was no longer an option. The silver sedan didn't stop. It followed the laws of inertia, veering sharply to the left, crossing the shoulder, and disappearing into the dense, unforgiving tree line of the A49. Up on the overpass, the laughter didn't stop immediately. It faded slowly, replaced by a cold, heavy silence, as the red taillights of the sedan didn't just pass by. They disappeared into the trees. One of them pulled out a phone, not to call for help, but to check the time. The blue light of the screen illuminated a circle of growing horror on their faces. The game was over, and the clock was now ticking against them. 2 miles away, a patrol car received a call about a disruption on the A49. The officer expected a drunk driver or a mechanical failure. He didn't expect a forensic puzzle scattered across 300 yards of asphalt. The first piece of evidence wasn't the car. It was a single grey stone sitting in the center of the lane, untouched by the chaos it had just caused. It looked like a natural part of the road until you saw the glass dust surrounding it. The officer followed the skid marks. They weren't erratic, they were a straight line of surrender. The silver sedan was wedged deep into the oak trees, its headlights still flickering like a dying pulse. As the yellow tape began to circle the site, the investigation shifted. This wasn't an accident. It was a timeline of indifference, pieced together by fragments of limestone and the cold reality of a life taken for no reason at all. The boys didn't run far. They were found 3 miles away at a 24-hour diner, still smelling of the night air and looking for a way to reset a world they had just broken. They looked like any other group of teenagers until the flashing lights pulled into the parking lot. In interrogation room 4, the silence was different. It wasn't the open silence of the highway. It was the heavy, clinical silence of a place designed to extract the truth from the lies of the accidental criminal. The youngest boy was the first to speak. His voice was a whisper, a desperate attempt to frame a homicide as a hobby. "It was just a prank," he said. "We didn't mean for anyone to actually get hurt." He was still living in the game while the world outside was preparing for a funeral. But Detective Vance didn't look at the boy. He looked at the evidence bag on the table. Inside sat the limestone rock, now a permanent part of a criminal file. He pushed it across the metal surface, the thud of the stone echoing against the walls. The detective explained the physics. He spoke about velocity, about impact, and about a man named Thomas, who would never teach another history class. Slowly, the prank narrative dissolved, replaced by the terrifying realization of permanent consequence. Everything was being recorded, every stutter, every tear, and every failed excuse. In that moment, the teenagers weren't just suspects. They were the faces of a generation that had forgotten that actions don't just exist in a digital vacuum. They bleed into reality. Back at the high school, the history department didn't just lose a teacher. They lost a bridge to the past. Thomas Miller's desk remained exactly as he left it on Tuesday afternoon. Piles of ungraded papers, a cold cup of coffee, and a calendar that stopped at Tuesday. The trial didn't last long. The evidence was as heavy as the stone that broke the windshield. When the boys walked into the courtroom, they weren't the kings of the overpass anymore. They were just teenagers in suits that didn't fit, facing a judge who wasn't interested in games. 15 years. That was the price for 60 seconds of boredom. As the judge's gavel hit the wood, the sound wasn't just a signal of the end of the trial. It was the sound of a prison door closing on 4 lives that were supposed to have a future. The limestone rock was returned to a box in the evidence locker, labeled and filed away. It will stay there for decades, a silent, jagged witness to the moment empathy failed and physics took over. Thomas Miller's wife still looks at the clock at 11:42 p.m. every Tuesday. She doesn't think about the trial or the teenagers. She thinks about the 4 minutes he was away from home and the world that disappeared in a cloud of glass. We tell ourselves these are accidents. We tell ourselves it could happen to anyone. But at what point does "I didn't mean it" stop being an excuse and start being a verdict? The cases like this remind us that outcomes rarely happen by accident. They are shaped by decisions, delays, and silence. If understanding how events unfold matters to you, consider subscribing to Null Evidence.